specifically because they're so easy to use. So I think as an artist and as somebody who's a maker, I spend a lot of time creating. And so this has been like such a breeze and such a fun way to connect to my creativity all the time. Hello, California. I'm gonna give you guys just a few more seconds and we're gonna get started.
And while we're waiting to get started, I just wanted to let everyone know that if you have any questions for us or you wanted to talk to us, please use your chat box to ask us questions. And please, you can minimize your chat box. If it gets in the way and you can't see the projects that TK is working on, you can click the little X and it will close the chat box for you.
Awesome, thank you. And that's Debbie from Michaels. That's speaking the voice of the goddess right now. Yay, first time here, super excited. Me too. So how many of you have your materials for today? I'd love to hear that. Si quieres preguntar en español, yo hablo un poquito de español, so yo puedo answer. Pero I'm not fluent. Got them all. A lot of people have their materials. How exciting. That's awesome, guys. Yay. Wait, first of all, 5 stars for coming to class ready. That's great. So we're gonna get into it. Are you gonna, can I ask a quick moderator question? Do we get started right now? We're good to go. Yay, I got the okay, guys, we can go. Awesome. I have some of them. What you really need today, you need to have some sort of mold. So there were 2 molds suggested for the class. This is one of them. And then this is the other one. And the resin, obviously. And you need to have a UV light. So, and I'll tell you, as we go through, I'll even tell you this. Honestly, this UV resin is so amazing that you can use it outside in the sunlight. I made a pair of earrings this morning, and before I even got a chance to get to the UV part, they were already drying. So that's how quickly it's gonna work. I also like to have on hand these tools. These are lifesavers. They're my favorite tools on the table. And then I have some additives to add into the different earring parts. So some little flowers, we have some little glitter, and then some pieces to help put our earrings and make them into a complete piece. Can you see everything?
Christina's asking what tools these
were. Every one of these tools can be found in the list of tools that was in the included with the class. So if you linked onto the Michaels link, you will be able to find the full list there. I see you guys saying it's a little glary. The good news is in just a second, we're gonna switch cameras so that it's gonna be projected from above and then people will be able to see. Can you, I don't know what you guys can see right now, and you'll be able to see all of the materials and you'll see my hands and you'll see how we're gonna put everything together. Okay, are we ready to go? There you go, awesome. So I'm wearing my reading glasses today, guys, which means that I can't see much more outside of two feet in front of me or a foot in front of me, but I'm gonna work with you guys right now. So we're gonna make first this pair of earrings. This was the example. And tell me if you can have a good look at them. Raise them up. Move them down. Pull them back. Thank you for bearing with me while I figure out this live stream. Can everybody see the earring example? I'll put them down too so that you can see them this way. So they're dried flowers placed inside of resin and they have some added half moon circle pieces and some little posts that we're going to put onto them. And to make this material, this project, we're going to start by opening our resin. Give me just 1 second while I do that. And then we're gonna get our little flowers out. So this resin is awesome because it has, it's pretty simple to open up. I just use this tool to get it open. And then it comes with a screw-on cap. And once you take this off, it's pourable. Have any of you made resin projects before? One-step resin, yes. Brilliant, right? If you've ever worked with resin before, I'm sure that you have the experience of having to mix it. If you're not working with UV resin, you usually have to combine two parts in order to make the resin consistent. This is actually really cool because it comes already pre-mixed and you are literally just opening it, putting on the cap, and then you're gonna pour it into your mold. So I'll give you a second to make sure your molds are ready. I love to use these silicone mats underneath what I'm doing to purpose. And I also use just even paper towel. This is a very, very clean process. I'll give you a second to catch up. Once you're ready, yeah, this is a brand new resin. I see you saying, some of you saying this is a brand new, or you've never used this resin before. You do not, if you're opening the package, you do not have to do any kind of cleanup to the mold. You're literally gonna use it right out of the package. So it came in this package. I took it out and it's good to go. The mold is ready. Is it safe for drinkware? I'm making cups. You know, that's a great question. I actually am only using it for jewelry, and I really find that UV resin is an excellent resin for smaller projects. So I've never used it in a mold in that kind of capacity. I've only used it in these kinds of molds. I would suggest you do a little bit of research to see if that's something that you can use. I've also used it to coat a few things, but I really, really find that the key to using UV resin is using these molds, which are clear. Yes. Yes, their question is, I have UV resin clear hard. Is that fine? It should be fine. Yes. I'm specifically using the Michaels brand UV Resin Craft Creations by Blue Moon Studio. So we're gonna go. Ready? We're gonna work on these flower shapes. I made some extra ones earlier today. Super simple. And we're using this part of the mold for it. This mold is awesome because it comes with these little spaces that create a hole inside of it. And what I do is I fill it halfway up first, and we're gonna make both of them at the same time.
There's a question asking, can you reuse the leftover resin, and do you need protective gloves?
Great question about the gloves. I don't use gloves. You could use gloves if you want to. I just haven't. And to be honest with you, it's such a clean process that I don't feel like you need to. I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question?
If you can reuse the leftover resin.
Yes. So this resin, I believe it stays, you would need to recheck the packaging, but I believe it stays for up to 3 months. The key to it is that this resin is stored in this black bottle, right? So this resin is activated by the light. As long as it's in this black bottle and it's covered and it's not placed in the light, you should be all set to continue to store it. So to come back to what we're doing, we're filling the mold up halfway. So one quick tip I would give you is that if you're gonna do this project, because it's a heat and a light activated, UV activated project, try to not do it directly in the sunlight. Like I've done this project before in the sunlight and the resin will dry as it's being poured. So you wanna make sure that if you're doing this, you aren't doing it in a space that is going to be super sun activated. And then you're gonna take, once all the resin is poured halfway, and start filling it in with, in this case, these little dried flowers. And this is where this tool comes in so handy because it has these two sides to it. I just break up my flowers and I start adding them. Do you have a question, Vivi?
Someone is asking if they have the smaller resin bottles.
I don't understand the question.
Like if there's like smaller bottles of the resin. Or...
I believe that Michael sells two sizes of the resin. I like it so much. I like this resin so much that I just buy the bigger bottle, but I do think that there are two sizes to it available.
And then someone else is asking if resin gets on your skin, can you wash it off with water?
In this case, you know, I've only had it happen once in all the earrings that I've made, and it did come off with water.
Another question from Rebecca says, do you have to use dried flowers or can you use live flowers?
I use dried flowers specifically because the moisture in live flowers, from my understanding, is that it will mold inside of the resin earring if you don't use a dried substance. Can everybody hear Vivi asking the questions? Because otherwise we can either ask her to speak louder or I can repeat them. Yes, awesome. Thank you, Viv. So we're just placing them in however you want to put them. They're going to look so pretty no matter what you do with them. What's cool about the resin project is that it's an imperfect process. So no matter what you do, it's going to be perfect. It's really a beautiful, relaxing, honestly, way to work. While we're doing this, are there any other questions?
Someone is saying that there are 3 sizes of the resin at Michael's, so that's helpful.
Oh, that's awesome.
Some people are saying they don't see the resin at their Michael's store yet.
You know, so when I started this project, there was another resin available at Michael's, but I believe in the last 2 months or so, they've really started focusing on this particular resin brand. And I can't even tell you like how impressed I am by it. If you can see, and I'm not sure if you can, we're sitting in front of a window right now, right? This resin that we're currently using is drying as we're making the project. So that's how quickly it really works, right? So this new resin, the UV resin by Blue Moon Studio particularly, is just like such an amazing product and such an effective product. It really does, I really recommend that you look into it and get it if you don't already have it. How long does the resin take to cure? It takes 15 minutes in the sunlight and it takes 30 seconds in the UV. So we're gonna put it underneath the light right now. Is everybody ready? This is what it looks like when you use, this is the UV light that we're using. Can you see what's happening? So it's on, it automatically sets a timer for, I believe it says, I think I said 30 seconds, but it's actually 60 seconds. And it's gonna automatically turn itself off.
Miss Russell asked if you can use artificial flowers.
I've actually never use artificial flowers. I say go for it. I like to use anything I can use at all. Like I'm actually really big and I like the, you know, those little like, I don't remember if they're called sprinkles or like, maybe they're called jimmies. I don't remember what they're called. They go on top of cupcakes or you put them, they're little decorations. I love to use those. You can get the UV light at Michael's. This is a Michael's light. Jimmy's, exactly. So it went off.
Someone is asking about like inks or like color into the resin.
That's a great question. I have experimented with some inks with the UV resin. It does take a little bit longer to dry. If I was going to do that, I would probably put it outside because the sun is like such a fast cure of it, as you could already see. So now we're gonna do our second layer. So we did our first layer. We already did half of it. We added our flowers. Now we're gonna add our second layer. How do you test if they're ready to take out of the molds? That's a great question. We're gonna get to it by the end of this first earring project, but you're basically gonna use this little stick and you're gonna touch it to see if it's hard. How many of you are doing this project right now? Awesome, so 2 or 3 people. Has your resin dried right now? Hi, Piper. Yes, awesome. So we're gonna do almost, okay. You could run, if it hasn't dried all the way, what I would recommend is that you turn on the light again and run it one more time. For those of you that have had your first layer dry, you can start pouring in your second layer. I am using fresh dried flowers, which are also sold at Michael's. So all of the products for this class are sold and carried at Michael's. And I was able to find all of mine at my local Michael's.
Could you remind them how long it takes for it to dry under the sunlight?
15 minutes. And honestly, like less than that. I would say we're really fortunate in Austin, Texas today because the sun is out. It's been raining a lot and the sun is really necessary. Like you can't put it outside in a gloomy day. You need to be able to have some sunlight on it.
Laura's asking if you fill it up to the very top of the mold.
I do, and this is why I have my reading glasses. I like to take a look at it and kind of look evenly to see if the top of the mold, if it's sunken or if there's any space to add a little extra to it. So if there's any space in mine right now, there's a little bit of space. So I actually overfill just a tiny, tiny bit to give it kind of a like rounded or capped look on the top because the resin does shrink as it hardens.
Laura's also asking if you need to tap it on the table to get rid of air bubbles.
Well, actually, that's a great question, Laura, because I'm working on it right now. You can, you don't have to do it the same way. I don't have my tool with me right now that I would normally use, but I do have one in the house. You know those like lighters, like the big lighters that you use that are longer and you can use it, they're, what are they called? Those longer lighters?
I'm not sure.
We're gonna do a little research for you guys. Grill lighters, thank you. Yeah. So I use a grill lighter, just pass it over very, very quickly. I don't touch the resin with it. I literally just use the flame very quickly over it and it will eliminate the bubbles for you. I have a couple of bubbles in it right now. I'm just gonna try to poke them out. I don't regularly use the tapping method. I have heard that it works before. And to be honest with you, this resin, UV resin is self-leveling. So it really helps to prevent bubbling to begin with. Like I find far less bubbles when I use this resin than when I use any other kind of resin. I'm gonna use the light right now. I have one little bubble in one of my earrings. They don't really bother me, so I'm just gonna move forward.
Maureen's wondering how many pairs of earrings do you think you can make from that size resin bottle?
That's a really great question. You know, I've never measured it from beginning to end. I would say well over 10. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, maybe like 10 or 12, depending on
Yeah.
like the kind of earring.
I think it could be like, honestly,
More.
way more.
Yeah.
We just haven't like done it in that way to measure them.
And then Erica's asking if alcohol ink work in the molds.
I've done them with alcohol ink before, but it was before I was using this brand of resin, and it took substantially longer to dry. I haven't tried it with this brand of resin. I would imagine it would be faster just because this resin in general has been really easy to use. So I'm gonna test it. We ran our second, and mine is hard. But I like to err on the side of precaution. So I'm gonna run the light again. That's a great question. Nelly is asking about that they've heard that resin in general is toxic to inhale. I am not currently wearing a mask. I would suggest that you use a ventilated area. I think if you're gonna be using it a lot, sure, why not? If you feel like you wanna take care of yourself in that particular way, I would absolutely suggest that you do. This resin is very, very low odor. So I've used other resins that are very, very strong. And I haven't experienced that with this resin. Hi from Delaware.
There's a question coming from Facebook asking how soon does the resin turn yellow?
You know, I've been working with this particular resin for a few months now. None of my pieces have turned yellow. I don't know if this particular resin is known for that, but I don't think that it is. I've worked with other resins and it's literally been a matter of like, you know, a month and a half, and I see the yellowing in it. So I can't answer that question yet. I'm sorry.
There's another question asking, what is the micro pack enhanced PE sheet in the dried flower pack?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know anything about that particular thing.
Also, Susan mentioned that you're making a pair of earrings, but it looks like you can make one thicker earring by gluing two sides together. She's asking if that's an option or would it be too noticeable?
Well, I'm not sure why you would want to make it thicker than what it already is. So right now we're gonna demold it and you'll be able to see how thick it is because it's dry. So that you can see really clearly. When the resin is dry, when you're working with it, the mold will be a little bit warm because you're using the UV light. So you want to first kind of tap it a little bit and make sure that, you know, it's not overly hot. Let your resin sit, and then you're gonna start to demold it. And the way that I demold it is kind of like by popping it out, the way that I did right now. And you can see it. I think especially because you're making earrings, you don't want them to be really heavy on your ears, right? Like you want something that's gonna be lighter. This is about the weight of it or the thickness of it. So I actually think that it's perfect for earrings. I don't think that you want to go too much thicker than that. I know that with some, oh, I got a little piece of fuzz in mine. With some of your earrings, if you demold them, like if they don't dry all the way, sometimes there's a little bit of tackiness to them. I would recommend to you that you just put them in your windowsill and let the sun hit them for a few minutes, and then they'll be dry all the way. But mine are actually, they're pretty dry. And then you can see, like, I could have been more careful. I think I was a little bit nervous, but there's a little bit of resin here on top covering the holes. So I just removed that pretty easily. Next time that we do it, we'll make sure to be really careful with that piece, that part. And then the hole is already there. So this is the hole that you're going to use to put the jump ring in to add the next part of your earring. And when I'm getting ready to take my earrings to market, for example, because I want them to be like perfect products when I'm taking them, I would maybe use a sander to eliminate any of the little extra pieces that are on your earrings. But these came out looking pretty good. How's everybody doing that's following along? Are your earrings done? Yeah, it's super easy breezy. Like, I think that this is the easiest project I worked on. Just took them out of the mold. How do they look? How do they look? They are so cute, right? And then we're going to use our jump rings. So for whoever has never used jump rings before, Michaels does sell jump rings. I'm going to use these thicker ones, I think, to make sure that they fit around. Can I use a file? Can I file? I'm sorry. Off the rough edges. You can absolutely file off the rough edges. I would use a super fine grit file if I was going to use one. That would be my only advice. And if it makes your resin earring look a little like, you know, you're filing it, so it will look a little bit, or sanding it, excuse me, it will look a little bit like sanded. You can easily put another layer of resin, like a very thin layer, and it will remove that sanding. Question from Facebook. If you use a mold with no hole, can you drill the resin? Yes, you can. In fact, I also did a project where I made keychains out of it, and the hole, in order to use those keychains or create those keychains, we had to drill holes in them, and the resin reacted really well to it. And I used this resin for it. So we're using, to finish off this design, we're using these tops, which I got at Michael's. I'm gonna open them up off camera.
Nellie's asking if you can use gloss to make them more shiny.
Are you working on your project right now, Nellie?
Yes.
Are your resin earrings not shiny right now? I don't see an answer. Yes, they are. Just a question for the future. I don't know that you would need to, because the resin actually, like, it's so glossy that I actually like to add it. Like, there are projects that I'm doing right now where I'm adding flowers on top of other objects, and I'm using the resin to help amplify the actual flower and to help add gloss to the project. So I haven't found a need to add any additional gloss.
Dawn is asking what size jump rings you're using.
John, that's a great question. I don't know the exact circumference of them. Michaels sells them in these little packs that I just tore open. So I can't show you what it looked like before, but, oh, I'm sorry, these aren't them. If you look at the list that we provided with the Michaels project, you'll be able to see the jump rings there. And they come in 3 different sizes. I just happen to have 2 of them here right now. So this is a smaller one and this is the larger one.
There's a question asking if you're using the smaller circle or the bigger circles to connect the pieces.
I'm using the larger jump ring right now. I think it's important actually in jewelry making to use a larger jump ring and to make sure that your jump ring fits your piece so that it hangs easily, because you want to make sure that you're not making a project that's, like, you know, too stiff. Basically, the, like, joy of earrings is how light and easily they move around. So with this one, you can see the jump ring is big enough to fit both the metal piece and the resin piece. And then I'm going to add a top to it. And this top, which is this, I'm going to use the smaller jump ring for, because I don't think I need that big of a jump ring for it.
Susan said that they are 4 and 6 millimeters.
Thank you, Susan. You're the best.
And then Laura's asking if she uses fine glitter to use, if she uses fine glitter, could she use the thin wooden stick to mix it up?
If she uses fine glitter, yes. What's really cool about this stick toolkit here that I'm in love with is it also has these little cups in it. So you can actually take the resin, pour it into here, and then use any kind of additive. I think somebody asked a question that I saw about colors or using ink. You could add it in here, blend it in here, and then pour it into your mold if you wanted to. And I've done that before with fine glitter because that way you get a more even pour. I'm excited to hear from folks that are making the project, how it's going. I'm closing the jump ring right now with the top one, and we're about to be able to finish our first set of earrings.
Maureen asked, can you bring the resin back to its original form once it's hardened?
I've never done that before. I think that's a great question. I've actually never done that with any kind of resin before. So I'd be happy to do a little research on that and update y'all. I guess now would be a good time to mention my Instagram page is Las Ofrendas. For those of you that don't know, I think that Michaels is going to share that with you. But I would be happy to do a little research and give an update there. I'm not sure if anybody from Michaels knows already.
Paula said that she's made 2 pairs and added the stud to the long circle.
Hey, that's awesome. Super fast. You're working faster than I am, Paula. So one thing is we really want to see what y'all are making during this class. So if you have been making this class right now or making this earrings right now during this class, we want to remind you to tag hashtag Make It With Michaels and share your projects there because I would love to see what you're doing.
And Nellie also said that my earrings are so pretty. This is the first time I work with resin and I'm in love. Yeah, let me tell you, you're gonna want to do them all the time now. They're so fun to make. And honestly, like every part of this project is super simple. So it's like, you're gonna wanna adorn yourself every day. Anybody else that's making them have any other results that they want to share with us? Veronica asked, when you're making this many earrings, what do you do with them?
Girl, I wear them. I wear them every day, but I am also a jewelry maker. So I sell them. I sell my jewelry, my earrings because I run a business. So my business is Las Ofrendas. I believe in adorning as a sacred action. And so I really love the idea of giving earrings to people, providing earrings for people, and giving them the option to adorn themselves and make them feel good, make themselves feel good. Okay, Kate, so I want to do a little time check-in. It's 12:37. We can do one more pair of earrings. Great. And
do you want to give a tip on Helika's asking or saying that she's having a hard time opening the rings? Do you want to give a tip?
You know what? Yes, I do. So this is the thing with these rings. I highly suggest that you actually buy 2 of these. What are these called? Pliers. 2 of these pliers because it's very hard to open them with your hands, obviously. But I found that you want to hold one with one plier and you want to use the other one to turn. And that's the easiest way to use your jump rings. And kudos to Michaels because I actually think these jump rings are great quality and the thickness is really wonderful to work with. A lot of jump rings are usually thinner than this. Hold it up. Okay, I got advice, guys. So hold one pair. Oh, sorry. And then twist like this. And then twist back. Any other feedback about these pairs of earrings?
Maria is asking that if it's sticky, I should just run it one more time in the.
Yes, run it one more time. If there's any tackiness after that, I would, like I said, suggest you put it in the windowsill, like let the sun hit it for just a couple minutes. That's it. Thank you, Barbara. If you use the mixing cup, do you need to clean the cup before it dries? Well, when you take it out of the package, it's clean. The really great thing about UV resin, to be honest, is that it dries so quickly. So if it gets messy or dirty on your materials or your tools, you can usually just remove it. If there's silicone, you can just remove the resin once it's dried. If it's not silicone, you can use alcohol. So I use literally, it's this isopropyl alcohol. You can buy it anywhere, right? And then I use a lint-free rag to clean up. I saw a question about the addition to the earrings, but I didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
Susan asked, can you talk about the glittery or crystal-like additions in the long circle earrings?
The long circle earrings. Yes, and you know what? Let's make them. So these are, is this what you're talking about, Crystal? These pink ones?
Susan.
Susan, sorry.
Yes.
So these are shells, and this is the product. Come down, face this way. This is the product. It's, again, I got it at Michael's. It comes in many different colors. I chose the 2 pink variations. They're little shell flakes, they're colored, and we can make a pair of them right now. Super simple to add. You can take them out. Oh, baby, will you help me take that one out? Because I'll get the earrings started while you do that, okay? And we're gonna use this mold to make them with. So same mold, different parts of it. And I'm gonna clean my mold out really, really quick too, because I got a little bit of residue from the last project that we just did in it. So while I'm doing this, Phoebe's opening up the little shells. Anybody who's following along, you should just get your resin ready. Awesome. You can also wash these out when you're done.
Bella's asking if she can post a picture on Instagram.
Yes, we absolutely want you to post a picture on Instagram. Make sure to tag #MakeItWithMichaels. I would love to see your work. And as a review, does everybody remember how long it takes for us to add? We're gonna put, how much of the resin we're gonna put in the first layer?
Halfway.
Halfway, awesome. So we're doing that. We're doing the first halfway part. Super fast and easy. I am moving it around a little bit. It does self-level, but there's a few pieces missing for me. I'm keeping that hole on top clear just to make sure that it's there, and I'm filling around it. This is like the speed version, guys. We're gonna do the speed version this time. So you can see, I do have a couple bubbles. And take them out. They're fairly easy to remove at this point. And I'm going quickly, so you don't have to go this quickly. Any questions?
Peggy's asking to get the resin out of the cup, just use the lamp, dry it, and pop it out.
Sure, yeah, you could do that. But are you talking about to pour it, or are you talking about to clean it? Let's see if she answers. So we did that first half. We're gonna add our first shells to it.
To clean it.
To clean it, yes. To pour it, I mean, obviously to pour it, you just pour it out, but to clean it, yes. And I am going to add my little shells. So some of these shells are a little bit big, like you can see. I just break them up.
There's a question coming from Facebook asking if the resin is toxin free.
I'm not sure about that. You would probably want to read the packaging to see.
And Maureen asks, what happens if the resin gets accidentally poured over the little hole?
Well, like you saw right now, because I actually did it in the last pair of earrings, I accidentally poured it over the little hole. Well, one thing is that these molds are so cool because the hole is actually longer than the rest of the mold. And so you can, it will very, 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 very rarely actually cover itself up. If you do, I would just suggest that you like drill a little hole in the top for your jump ring.
Sue's asking a question about why you add the shells halfway through instead of pushing them down.
Instead of pushing them down? Well, the reason I add them halfway through is because it gives more depth to the earring. So if you put them in halfway through, you're creating a little bit more depth, which your top layer of resin is gonna make or just accentuate. So it's an aesthetic choice for me. And it kind of like encapsulates them in the resin. I'm having an issue with this one little shell, so I'm gonna remove it. Next question. And you don't need a ton of the shells, but I like to go overboard. So I'm adding as many as I can in there. The thing about resin that I found really cool too is that like actually a little bit goes a very long way with any of the materials that you use. And this product also is on that list that you can link to, or that was linked to. Again, I started with the bottom earring here and it's already drying. I'm gonna put my light on top of it.
Rebecca said that this is awesome, thank you. And Keely said that these are so fun.
Thank you, Keely, thank you, Rebecca. I'm so glad that you're getting a chance to participate and learn about this craft. I really, really, really love it.
Belle asked if you have a personal webpage.
I do. I would definitely refer all of you to my Instagram. It's at Las Ofrendas. It's LASOFRENDAS. And I think Vivi's going to type it in right now. That's really the best way to follow the projects that I'm doing. So I'm just waiting for the UV light to turn itself off.
There's a few questions. Nellie asked, do you prefer UV resin or the other resin?
I prefer UV resin, but it's because I'm a jewelry artist. Like I do a lot of small base projects with it. So you can do larger scale projects. I do find that it's harder to do with the UV resin and that they're more effective with different kinds of, with the 2-mix non-UV resin. I think somebody asked to hold the shells up. I don't know if they meant the earrings or not, but this is what the earring looks like inside. And I did the one light application already. And they're basically dry. I did notice with this, I'm gonna flip this over. I didn't show you this last time, guys. And I don't do it every single time, but sometimes I just flip over and I do the back of the earring too, just to make sure the bottom side is completely dry as well. So I'm doing that right now. Is there another question?
Yeah, Marcella asked, do you need the UV light or does regular lighting work?
You need the UV light for the fast process that we're doing. So yes, but the sunlight does work and you can just put it out in the sunlight for 15 minutes or so. But because I like instant gratification with everything that I do. I love using the UV light, so it's done and I don't have to be dependent on whether or not the sun is gonna come out or what's happening with the weather. Any other questions?
No. Carla said that she's going to follow you on Instagram and thank you for the class. She's going to try out the UV light.
Yay! Let me know how it goes. I'm super excited to hear how y'all do with this project. Please don't be afraid to send me questions or comments too.
Maureen said, when adding ink in the resin for these earrings, how many drops of ink do you recommend?
Oh, I would definitely recommend you start with 1 drop. I would not, don't go overboard with it because the ink is actually very strong. So the ink that I was using was also sold at Michael's. It's really beautiful. And you just really want to go with 1 little drop, mix it up and put it in there. Can you cure them too much? I don't think that you can cure them too much, but I do think we did some in the sun when we were doing that project I was telling y'all about. That was the letter project, the Resin keychain project. We put them outside in the sun and I kind of forgot about them. So when I came back later in the day, I did notice that we had to drill like a little bit longer to get the hole in than we were having to do the first time that I did it when I paid attention to the instructions. So they might have hardened like harder than they would traditionally harden. This part is done. And then I'm gonna actually make this little hole right here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not done. I got distracted, I'm sorry guys. We're adding 1 more layer. So we're gonna add the 2nd layer right now.
Marcel's asking how you drill the resin.
I literally just use like a Dremel. There's Dremels available at Michael's as well. Or I use a very, very fine Dremel drill piece and my regular drill. And I'm adding my 2nd layer of resin. Does everybody remember that I said last time that I try to cap out the top of the resin? So meaning that I try to leave like a little bit of a mound on top because the resin does shrink. And so we do want to leave enough space for when it shrinks. Oops.
There's a question from Facebook asking if the UV resin molds have to be clear or will any other mold work?
That is a great question. So I learned the hard way that you really want as clear a mold as possible. And thank goodness that Michael's created these new resin molds, UV resin molds. So everything that you can get for this project is basically in one section at Michael's. So the dried flowers, the molds, and they're all labeled UV resin, which is super helpful to me because I was in there looking for all kinds of different molds. I wanted to be creative and use these darker molds. And to be honest with you, using the clear molds, really as crystal clear mold as possible is the best way to go. You ultimately want to remember that the UV is what activates the resin. And so you want to allow access to light to all parts of your project. And I'm I already did the top of this next set of earrings and I'm doing my light again. So there you go. These should be done in 60 seconds, guys. Any other questions?
Can you add color to the clear resin and what do we use to add the color?
I think that's a great question, Sydney. I think people will use a variety of different things. As I just mentioned, there's ink that you can get that Michael's sells a product that has ink or is an ink product. People will use things like sparkles just to kind of add that depth. And then there's also these very cool powder-based inks that Michael sells that I used. They're really, really beautiful and you can mix them directly into the resin and they will color the resin for you. Those are not listed. You're welcome, Sydney. They're not listed in that sheet, but they are available at the Michael's. You're welcome. So I'm done with this part. I'm gonna test it So remember that I use my little stick. I use a stick so much, y'all. Like I literally think these sticks are godsends for this project. And I'm just poking it. If you poke it with your finger, the only thing is you're risking a little fingerprint in them. And I don't like to take that risk. So I think these sticks are awesome for that. And mine is dry. So we're gonna demold it. I'm gonna give it just, you know, a few seconds to dry, to cool off, and then I'm gonna demold them. Oh, you wanna see them? Vivi's suggesting that maybe you guys wanna see the demolding, which I think is a great suggestion. Thank you, Vivi. So you can see they're in here. And I'm just giving them like a few seconds to cool down. Any other questions?
Jean's asking if you know the powder-based ink brand.
I don't, but I think it's pretty simple to find. Maybe one of the Michaels people will be able to send it your way in just a few seconds. I'm demolding, which is literally just taking it out here. I'm gonna use the post right now, Maria, so we'll be able to walk you through that process. So that's what it looks like.
So it looks like the
Thank you, Sue.
The powder-based ink is in the Recollections brand. For Jane that was asking the brand.
Are you guys able to hear that? And molding is so satisfying, Hannah. I have to agree with that. Like, it's really like my favorite part of the whole project is adding the things in and then taking the earrings out. We're gonna work on the post because I want you guys to see how we do it. So the post part is this little round part of the mold. And I'm gonna turn I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is what the mold, the actual mold looks like. And if you can see, the parts that are sticking out are where your jump rings are gonna go. And so I think this design for this mold is brilliant because you can almost, like it would take a lot for you to cover that up. You'd have to like way spill over your resin. So this is a really awesome part of the design because, you know, drilling those holes, you can totally do it in resin, but if you don't have to, it just makes your life so much easier. So we're doing the next part, which is these little top circles that are gonna make the post for your earrings work. Uh-oh. I'm saying uh-oh because you guys, I don't know if I have the post right now. I'm looking at my work surface. While we figure that out, let's move forward with this. So we're doing our first layer of our top shell. And I like little variations. So for this earring in particular, I used a different shell top color. It's right here right now. And I poured my first half of the resin. And then I break up my shell. I'm sure you guys remember, because you need some pretty small pieces to fit inside of this little circle. And I'm literally just throwing them in there, adding them to that first layer. And
someone was asking the powder name, and the brand of the powder name is called Recollections, and they have a bunch of different colors too.
I'm gonna run my light over that first layer.
Nellie's asking if the resin is slightly sticky. So you just should cure it a little bit longer.
Yeah, Nelly, I would suggest that you just cure it, like run the light over it one more time. If it's a little bit tacky and that doesn't immediately solve it, you can put it in your windowsill and let the sunlight hit it. I also, like, I have a little area outside of my patio that I put them and let the sun hit them. I consider the top, that's a great question. Susan is asking, do I consider the top or the bottom of the mold to be the front? And I actually consider the top of the mold to be the front, but ultimately I think you just need to look at it and see which way looks the best to you. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer to that, but that's also why I add the shells in the middle. So you can actually use either side of that molds to determine on your own when it's done, which is the front or the back. The light is done for the first section. And then I'm gonna add my second layer here. And again, you know, I still try to be careful around where the little hole is gonna be where the jumping is, but I try to fill it up as far as possible. Oop, I got a big bubble, so I'm gonna pop it with my little stick. There you go. And I'm gonna put the light on top of it one more time. There you go. Any other questions, y'all, while we're waiting for the light to go? So look at all the earrings that we've made out of these one molds. I made these earlier. I love them. Question from the Facebook. How, oh, I missed the question. These ones are with the glitter. I also
How long have you been crafting?
How long have I been crafting? Oh my gosh, my entire life. I always like to say like my first medium was paper dolls. And I love all kinds of different kinds of crafting. As you can tell probably from this one tutorial, I really enjoy exploring new mediums. Michael's is like a little addiction to me. Oh, thank you so much, Morena Moore. Oh, the light is done. So we're gonna check and make sure that they're dry. And they are. So I hope you guys all remember, we're gonna give 1 second for it to cool down before we demold it. Can you add beads? I missed the last question, I'm sorry.
From Sonia, it says, can you add beads or crystals to the resin?
Yes, you can add anything to the resin. Like I literally think that you can put almost anything that you want to put inside of this resin. Our time is basically up, guys, but I'm gonna show you how I did the post for the last earring. So this was another earring that I made. These posts come inside of the packages with the molds. So, and if you can't, I don't know if it's out of focus or not. I hope you can see it. So I literally just took one tiny dab of the glue, which is also in the list of materials, and adhered the post to the resin and created the earring. So it's super simple. I don't know if we're gonna have time to do that today, but I just want to tell you guys for this other pair. But it's really self-explanatory and you should be able to do that. Will hot glue work too? Yes, but you're also adding heat to something that could potentially melt. So I would not necessarily use that. I would definitely stick to the E600 jewelry glue. Any other questions before we sign off? Thank you, Adrienne. Thank you for joining. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for spending our time with us today. I want to say a huge thank you to Michaels for the opportunity. Please make sure that you guys tag Make It with Michaels for any classes that, or any projects that you made based on this class. Thank you, Maria. Thank you for joining us. And I want to see all of your work. And again, make sure to follow me at Las Ofrendas, and I'll keep on sharing what I learn as I go along my crafting journey. Have a great day today, guys. Oh, y'all are making me so happy with your comments. Thank you.